Hello, my name is Jack. I am an English literature teacher, and today we're going to be looking at the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Robert Frost is a very famous poet whom you might be already aware of because of a poem called The Road Not Taken, which is also a very naturalistic poem set in the woods. This poem, as you can see, is also set in the woods, but it's very different from that other poem for which Robert Frost is famous. So today we're just going to look at the first two stanzas of this poem, and we're going to look at symbolism and understanding how symbolism helped you to understand the deeper levels of a poem. Okay. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Okay, so this stanza establishes the setting of the poem. The setting is the woods. Okay, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Right, so the man who is speaking is in the woods, and he thinks he knows whose woods these are. The man who owns these woods has a house which is in the village, and so he is not going to see, he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Okay, so the speaker is in the woods by himself, and he knows who the woods belongs to, but this person is not here, this person is in the village. This seems like a very simple and almost mundane thing to be talking about. And that feeling is emphasized by the easy sing-song feel of the poem. So we can see no, snow. Right, there's an AA, BA rhythm and rhyme to the poem, which makes it very melodic, very pleasant to hear. However, I think if we start to look at the poem symbolically, we can break through that illusion and start to see that the poem has deeper, darker tones to it. How we're going to do this is we're going to look at the woods and we're going to look at the village, and we're going to think about the connotations of these two things, right? That means that when you think about the woods, what comes to mind? What associations do you have with the woods? And the same goes for the village. So to begin with the woods, we can think that the woods is a wild place, perhaps a dangerous place. We can think a bit more complicatedly in terms of it's the place in fairy tales. If you think of any fairy tale you know, there's always something dark, maybe something useful or helpful, but there's always something dark and creepy and forbidden in the woods, right? It's a place of mystery. It's the place where we come from, okay? So it's nature, where we originally were. How about the village? The village is the complete contrast to this, right? The village is what man created in order to protect himself from the woods. Okay, so in the village we have security, we have stability, we have lots of people, we have buildings, we have light. By contrast here, obviously, we have darkness. At least we have darkness during the nighttime. Okay, so where does this leave us? Well, it leaves the speaker in this place, a natural place, a wild place, a dark place, a dangerous place, and a mysterious place. And he is far away from the village where the owner of the woods is. And the village is the place which is secure, stable, safe, filled with people, filled with brick buildings, filled with light, also filled with warmth too. You can think about the warmth of the village compared to the coldness of the woods. Okay, so the speaker is alone in this place as the woods are filling up with snow. No one is going to see him in this place. He's by himself. Moving on to the second stanza, the poet says, "My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year." As the poem's title says, the man has stopped in the woods. He isn't moving through the woods anymore, he has stopped. How does his horse feel about this, is the next subject of the poem. My little horse must think it queer. Okay, so in this context, queer means strange. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Okay, so normally this man, when he is travelling on his horse, he is stopping at a farmhouse, presumably to eat, to rest, to sleep. Right now in the woods, whilst it's snowing, he is stopped for no reason, it seems. And therefore his horse thinks it's strange. Why does the horse think it's strange? Well, again, if we apply what we did to the woods and the village to the horse and think symbolically, we can begin to understand more about the horse's behaviour. Being in the woods, a place that is cold, wild, dark, dangerous, mysterious, is not the place that a horse wants to be, right? Because there are dangers in the woods. Instinctively, the horse is going to fear the woods. There will be bears, mountain lions, things that can eat the horse. The horse does not want to be there. So the horse thinking it's strange and being kind of perturbed, disturbed by being in the woods, the horse is following its instincts, right? So the horse represents animal instincts. The animal just behaves according to its instincts, whereas the human, which is an animal but is also separate from the animals in various ways, can choose to just stay in the woods, to stay in the dangerous place and just hang out there and watch the snow falling. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Okay, so we've already looked at the woods, right? But the speaker gets more specific here, and he talks about how he is standing with his horse between the woods and the frozen lake on the darkest evening of the year. Okay, so the darkest evening of the year will presumably be December 21st, when there is the least light in the sky and the least daylight in the day. Symbolically, this is going to be a very dark and depressing time for people. If you think about the position of Christmas in the year, Christmas is connected to, well, yes, like the birth of Jesus, but also the pagan festivals, Solus Invictus. Okay, this is the idea that after this time, on December 23rd, the sun is higher in the sky again. So ancient people were rejoicing that the sun had returned because they thought the sun had disappeared forever. But before this day, on the 21st, the sun has gotten to its lowest in the sky. The darkness is the greatest it's going to be, and everybody is very scared and depressed. Darkness, of course, is like associated with depression, with despair, with fear, particularly fear in the woods. Okay, so the poet is in the woods by himself. His horse is scared about what he's doing, and he is there on the darkest evening of the year. So he's in the darkest time of the day, in the darkest time of the year. This suggests the hopelessness of the poet's mood, perhaps. He is in a very dark place, and he is stopping by himself in the woods, in the snow, not caring for himself. And the horse, obeying his animal instincts, understands this, and is rightly kind of scared about him stopping in the woods. If we continue to look at the next two stanzas of the poem, we will see that the man in the woods is stopping in the woods for a very dark reason. Despite the melodic feeling of the poem, he is thinking about ending his life, and finally resolves not to, and decides to continue out of the woods. So overall, the poem is about a moment of great despair within the man who is stopping in the woods on his horse.